Once upon a time, in a cozy little house, lived a tiny mouse named Sneaky Sammy. Now, Sammy wasn't just any mouse. He had a special talent. He loved to tiptoe everywhere he went. His little feet would go tip, tap, tip, tap. It was the quietest, most delicate sound you could ever imagine. He could tiptoe across a creaky floorboard without making a peep, and past a sleeping cat without waking a single whisker. One starry night, as the moonbeams danced through the kitchen window, Sammy's nose twitched. He smelled something absolutely wonderful. Something cheesy. He peeked out from his little mouse hole and saw it. There, high up on the big kitchen table, sat the most magnificent piece of cheese he had ever seen. It was golden yellow, full of delicious-looking holes, and it was calling his name. Wow, Sammy whispered to himself, his eyes wide with excitement. This is a mission. A top-secret, super sneaky mission. He knew he had to be quieter than ever before. The big people in the house were fast asleep, and he didn't want to wake them. I must be very, very sneaky, he reminded himself, taking a deep breath. And so the tiptoe mission began. Tip, tap, tip, tap. Sammy crept out of his mouse hole and onto the cool kitchen floor. He looked up at the giant table. It was like a mountain. First, he had to get past the big wooden chair. Its legs were like giant trees in a forest. Carefully, he tiptoed around one leg, tip, tap, and then another, tip, tap. So far, so good. He was being extra sneaky. Next, he scurried up the tablecloth that hung down from the side of the table. It was a long climb for a tiny mouse, but Sammy was determined. He pulled himself up, paw over paw, until he finally reached the tabletop. The cheese was so close now he could almost taste it, but his path was blocked by a shiny silver spoon. It lay right in his way, like a fallen bridge. Sammy held his breath and started to tiptoe past it. Tip, tap. He was almost clear when... Clink. His tail accidentally brushed against the spoon. It wiggled and made a tiny noise. Sammy froze instantly. His heart was beating like a little drum. Thump, 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 thump. Don't move. Don't sneeze, he thought, squeezing his eyes shut. He waited. 1 second. 2 seconds. 5 seconds. Silence. Phew. It seemed no one had heard. He let out a tiny sigh of relief and was about to continue when... Boom! The spoon, which had been balanced right on the edge, suddenly tumbled off the table and crashed onto the floor with a loud bang. Oh no. This was it. The mission was a failure. Sammy's whiskers drooped. He was sure the big people would wake up and turn on the lights. But guess what? Nothing happened. A gentle snore echoed from the other room, but no one woke up. The house was still quiet and peaceful. Sammy couldn't believe his luck. A huge, cheeky grin spread across his face. He'd made a loud noise, and nobody even stirred. He gave a little wiggle of victory and kept on sneaking toward his prize. Tip, tap, tip, tap. The cheese was just inches away now. It smelled even more delicious up close. Just as he was about to take a big, cheesy bite, he heard a tiny, timid voice from behind him. Excuse me? Can I sneak with you? Sammy spun around, surprised. Hiding behind a salt shaker was another little mouse. She had big, kind eyes and a sweet smile. It was Millie Mouse. She had smelled the cheese too, but was a bit too shy to go for it all by herself. Sammy's heart felt warm. He smiled back at her. Of course, he whispered. There's plenty for two. So together, Sneaky Sammy and Millie Mouse nibbled on the giant piece of cheese. They shared every bite, giggling quietly as they ate. It was the best cheese they had ever tasted. And when they were finished, being the thoughtful mice they were, they didn't leave a mess. They worked together to sweep up every single crumb with their tails, leaving the table perfectly clean. Then, side by side, they tiptoed back across the table, climbed down the tablecloth, and scampered home to their cozy little mouse holes. Tip, tap, tip, tap, tip, tap, tip, tap. Their footsteps sounded even happier together. And that as the story of how Sneaky Sammy learned that missions are much more fun when you have a friend to share them with. Sneaking is fun when it's kind, quiet, and you don't leave a mess for others to clean up. And from that day on, Sneaky Sammy wasn't sneaky alone anymore. He was Sneaky Sammy, the friend, and every adventure was better shared. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you like Sammy's story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more adventures. See you next time.